All right. Well, tonight we're going to get started in the exercises in chapter 19. We read the text book on the chapter last time we were together. It's been 3 weeks, it seems like a long time. Hope we haven't forgotten most of it, but we'll get into the exercise and that'll refresh our memory. Do you remember what the tense formative was for the future tense?
Sigma.
That's right, sigma. Right. And our first example here, number 1, is a pretty easy one. We're familiar with the paradigm for luo, which means I loose or I break or I destroy. But in the future tense, you add the sigma after the root, and then the case ending. We're going to be studying future active and middle indicative. Most of these are active voice. So the stem is the same as the root for this verb. It's lu. The sigma is tense formative. Epsilon iota is third person singular case ending. So here we've got future active indicative, third single of luo, and it means he, she, or it will loose or break. Does that get you in the groove a little bit?
Yep.
Okay. The next one is akuase. Excuse me, akuseis. I forgot the sigma. Akuo is the lexical form of this verb. What does that mean?
Akuo would be I hear or obey. Right.
Okay.
Or understand something like that.
Yeah. And the ending ace is what?
Second person singular
ending
of the future active indicative.
Very good. Finish it up then.
So the lexical form, like you said, is akuo, and the inflected meaning would be you will hear or understand.
Is that singular or plural?
Singular.
Right. The next one is genesomen. What is the lexical form?
Genesomen is genao.
That's right. It's an alpha contract verb. And do you remember what the rule is for the contract verbs as far as the connecting vowel goes?
Ask one more time.
Do you remember what the rule is for the connecting vowel of a contract verb when you have the future tense formative? You lengthen that connecting vowel.
Oh, yeah.
So the alpha becomes an eta.
Yes. Ah, right. Okay. Which is why it's geneso, not genaso. Right.
Who wants to take that one?
Sure. Yeah. So genesomen would be. Oh, now I'm not sure I have this right. Oh no, that's right. It'd be first person plural.
Right.
Future active indicative.
Right.
So an inflected meaning could be we will beget, we will give birth to, something like that.
Yeah.
We will begin.
Next one is zesusi. What is the lexical form there?
Zao.
That's right. Alpha contract verb. And that's why the alpha gets changed or lengthens to an eta. All you got left of the stem is the zeta.
Yeah.
And the first sigma is our tense formative for the future tense. And the ending usi tells you what?
Oh, it's a third person plural.
Right.
Yeah.
What tense?
What's future?
Right.
I'm sorry. Yeah, these are all.
Okay.
It is future. Yes, future active. And he will live, or she will live, or it will live.
It's plural
Oh,
though.
I'm sorry, plural. They will live.
Yes, that's good.
I don't know why I got that.
So quick
Mhm.
clarifying question. Any contract verb, when the tense formative combined with it, or the following letter, or whatever that happens to be, but let's say the tense formative is a
Mhm.
consonant,
Mhm.
that vowel will lengthen. Is that correct?
Well, the tense formative for future is always sigma.
Right. But
Um,
if there were some other tense where a different consonant was coming into contact with the final
you know,
vowel, we would expect it to lengthen.
no, I think that
Or is
there's
it
a
just a
rule.
present active thing?
So,
Sorry.
See
future
how he
active.
takes that rule.
It's okay. It's all right. It's just a future active.
Right. Now, in the next chapter 20, we're going to see a different type of future. It's called a liquid future,
Okay.
and there are different rules for it. So I don't want to. This
Okay.
normal or regular future is fairly simple because it's always a sigma tense formative.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. The next one, number 5, erucitai. What is the lexical form?
Uh, this one's the deponent, isn't it?
It is,
Perumai.
right. Yes. Peruamai.
And
Yes.
so, oh, you know what? I think I had put the voice wrong then.
I just called it a D for deponent.
Okay, and that carries, and you'd call it a deponent in the
Yeah.
future tense
It's-
as well.
It's actually a middle deponent. Yeah.
Middle deponent.
There are some verbs
Right.
that are deponent in the present tense, but not in the future.
Huh.
And they'll indicate it in the lexicon.
Okay.
I don't think we've run into one yet.
Huh.
Okay.
Okay.
So that ending, etai, would be the third person singular
Yes.
ending. So third person singular future deponent
Mhm.
indicative.
Right.
And that would mean he, she, or it will go.
Right. Or proceed is another thing I've used before.
Okay.
Blepses. What's that C doing in there?
Zach, you just figured
Yeah,
out.
that one is because so the lexical form is blepo,
That's right.
and we're adding the tense formative sigma immediately against P,
Mm-hmm.
and any combination of P and sigma will be C.
That's right.
So it's
Yeah.
blepses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's what's called a stop. The
Right.
stem ends in a consonant.
If I'm not mistaken, it's the same kind of thing happening down in number 7, right?
Yes, but it's a different consonant.
Sure.
Yes,
Yes.
that's right.
But same
Yes.
mechanism.
Okay. Blepses. You said that's second singular.
Yes. That's what I have. Yep.
Okay. And you said it was blepo, the lexical form.
Uh-huh.
So what's the translated meaning?
Second person singular would be you will see.
Mhm. Now the next one, be careful with that breathing mark there. The lexical form of that verb is echo.
Right.
I see I made a mistake here. It's but the future, this is a strange one. I don't know of any other verb that does that. And you might not have known that unless you looked at the previous words section. He's got echo there and the future as a footnote 19. Notice that the future has a rough breathing instead of a smooth breathing. So they changed not only the consonant that comes in contact with the sigma tense formative, they changed the stem of the vowel in the stem of it to a rough breathing. So hexata is second person plural, the
Mhm.
te ending, future active indicative of echo.
Right.
Interesting. Thanks.
So
I wonder if that's, is that
So there's no rough breathing. It's not hecko, it's echo.
echo,
And then it gets a rough breathing in
yeah,
future.
have you noticed, is that something that happens in this combination when you have the,
well, he's got an explanation here.
oh, yeah,
It's in
I don't know.
morphology of biblical Greek, and I didn't bring my book along, but it's rather complicated.
That's all right.
This is one we just need to memorize.
Well, that's fine. I didn't know if we'd see anything in the more.
Okay.
Okay.
So, second plural, future active indicative of echo. You will have, or you will hold, have or hold.
Or if translating into a southern dialect, y'all will have.
That's right. uh, Number 9, holon. This is not a verb.
Did we
Did we
skip 8?
We must have, yeah.
Color.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Kalesomen. Now, here's an exception to the rule of the stem vowel lengthening. It doesn't lengthen before the sigma like all the other ones do. And he's got an explanation in the footnote 18 on page 207, where he says, Paleo is one of the few contracts that does not lengthen its contract vowel. The root used to end in a digamma. That's one of those strange letters that dropped out of use before the Koine period. And even though the digamma has dropped out, the fact that it was there prevents the epsilon from lengthening.
Okay.
So, kalesomen instead of kalesomen. That's first plural, the men ending. Future active indicative of kaleo, that's an epsilon contract. We will call. Is that what you had to?
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
Holon, number 9, not a verb. What is it?
It's a noun.
No.
Right.
It could be used as a noun, but it's an adjective. You could use it substantively, and it acts like a noun then. But holon is from the lexical form holos, hale, holon,
Right.
which means whole or
Okay.
entire.
All right. All right.
Now it can have more than one parsing. It could either be nominative and or accusative singular neuter, or it could be accusative singular masculine.
Okay.
And it means whole or entire.
What? Okay, I'm sorry. It could be what again?
It could be nominative or accusative.
Yes. Okay.
Per case.
Mhm.
Singular, neuter.
Yes. Okay. All
Because the nominative and accusative of the neuter are the same.
right. On.
Or else it could be accusative singular masculine, depending on what the gender of the noun is.
Oh, I forgot about accusative singular. That's
Yeah.
okay.
And the last one, number 10. Somebody want to pronounce that?
Sunaxusen,
Very good.
which lexical form I took to be sunago.
Yes.
So this would be usen would be the third person plural.
Yes.
Personal ending, and then it's in the future because it's sunax rather than sunag, right? So third person plural, future active indicative, and inflected meaning I gave was they will gather together.
Yeah. By the way, this is a verb, but the related noun or the cognate noun is soon. Well, we get the word synagogue from it.
Right.
The place where the Jews gathered together.
Okay.
Now, why is there a new on the end of that inflected form? Because number 4 doesn't have the new.
Isn't it optional? I mean,
Yes. And what's it called? What is this new called? Oh, there was a name we gave to
I'm sorry, I don't.
a movable new.
Move 'em.
Yes, right.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think it was optional. Sorry.
I think they got that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's just how I remember it.
Okay. A removable new.
It's there depending on the
Yeah, the
thing
next
that
word.
follows, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you haven't forgotten everything.
Not everything, not quite, not quite.
In
I did
fact,
read-
I'm encouraged about you guys.
Really?
I just see a
I'm
little
sorry,
bracket.
I
in my
messed
head when I
up
see
on Holland because I just, I don't know why I looked at that and thought it was a noun. I realized that's not right.
I saw the neuter part, but I forgot about accusative singular masculine, which is
Yeah.
funny because you think you'd remember.
So in fact, I just really was looking at that entry wrong. I was in a hurry, I guess.
It's been a while since we studied them.
I looked at the lexical form and just took it all wrong and messed up. I don't know.
Okay, let's read together this first one, alpha. Pontus
Pontes,
piscus en eis
Eis
aut
aut
quam. Want to take a stab at that?
Feel pretty good about this one. So I'll give this one to go. Pick the easy one, right?
Where's the subject, by the way?
Yeah, I believe it's. I'm sorry. One sec. I believe it's contained in the verb. The subject.
Well,
you could say it's in Pontes, I guess.
Pontus, yeah.
All
Yeah, that's probably
will
what
believe
it ends up being.
This is an adjective used substantively.
okay.
All people,
Okay.
Yeah, it's
or all men.
all. I mean, we don't even need to say anything. All will believe in him.
Yeah,
I
right. You
believe-
don't need
I
to.
mean, it's implied. We all
Mhm.
understood all something.
Yeah.
It's not cats.
All will believe. Yeah.
And the
I
rocks.
missed that one.
It's not probably not all the cats.
Unless they're tomcats.
Although I guess we don't really know what cats think. The Lord hasn't really spoken yet.
Cats don't. Yeah, all I had like all of them, but I can see how that makes more sense to say all or all men or something like that. All will believe in him.
Yeah. Pos and pon is the lexical form of that adjective.
Yeah.
Pos is masculine and feminine, and pon is neuter.
And I understood the adjective, and I knew what Pontes meant as an adjective, but I wasn't thinking about translating it substantively necessarily. So
yeah,
that makes sense though.
Okay. Number beta together. Let's read.
Right. So if it was just
go ahead.
If it was Pontes autus, right?
There you go.
Then it would be all of them.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
right.
right,
Okay.
yeah.
Yes, you got a good point. Autos, peri, autu, lalese.
Thanks.
Um,
So I can stab at this.
yeah, okay.
So, I mean, the literal words I have are, he about himself will speak.
Okay.
But I wouldn't say that. He will speak about himself.
That's what
Very
hey
good.
to. Okay, it's the
Yeah.
reflexive form.
It's a reflexive pronoun. We've got,
I did this like 3 weeks ago.
well,
I can remember it. This
you
is not
remember
so
that
bad.
thing. Yeah. This is the blind man, the man born blind in John 9,
Yeah, that,
where the parent
Oh,
says
yeah.
he will speak for himself.
Okay.
sure. Yeah. That's right.
Okay. Number gamma, sunaxo, tus,
Tus,
carpus,
Carpus,
mu.
All right. So
Can I try this one?
Okay.
Yeah,
good.
please do.
I will gather my crops is what
Okay.
I ended up translating. But yeah, I will gather for Sunaksu
Mhm.
or Sunakso, sorry.
Yeah.
Right.
And tus carpus is accusative plural, not neuter.
No, it's masculine. If
Oh,
it
it is
were
it is masculine. Sorry. Thank you.
Crops. I thought the word is like fruit, but
fruit,
Right.
yes.
Us is the
Well, crops is okay.
that's fine. Yeah,
Fruit
sure.
is, yeah.
Yeah, I will
Right.
gather my fruit
of me.
of me. Yeah.
Boo,
Yeah.
you know, so we'll gather my fruit.
Yeah.
Okay, number delta. Look at the rough breathing there on that.
There we
first
go
one.
with that word again.
Yeah. Hexe,
Hexe,
phos,
phos,
tes,
tes,
zoes.
zoe.
The verb there is future because of the rough breathing, and the key changed to xi,
Yeah.
and the ending epsilon iota is third singular. He, she, or it will have taphos,
The light
tes, zoes.
of
life.
life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that was what it looked like. Okay, that's good.
Okay, number epsilon. Soon, emoy,
Boy.
parusantai. So here's that deponent verb. Where's our subject? Is it in soon emoy?
I believe it's implied.
Implied in the verb,
Yeah.
yes. So the ending of the verb is alpha iota or
Okay.
ontai.
Third plural.
Third plural, yes.
Forgetting my personal pronouns.
Etai is third singular, ontai is third plural.
Yeah. With me, they will come. They will come with me.
They will come or go with me, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Same word, interestingly.
Mhm.
I think it's interesting that they use the same word for both.
Yeah, it is.
Which means, in looking at this, it's just this is an aside, but I think I wasn't here last Sunday, but the previous week, didn't Rod spoke, one of the things he spoke about was that none, what is the verse in John 6? No one will come to me unless the Father calls him.
Yeah, John 6:44.
And I think Rod spoke on this, that the word calls, the word passage calls is also drag.
Yes.
And I thought that was really interesting. I really have youth actually use that in
The way-
reaching people.
The way I learned it in the King James is no one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him.
Draws him.
And that word
Oh, it is
draws
draws, yeah, draws.
is
Draws.
hilko,
But it's the same word that translated as drag.
drag. Yes.
I'm thinking, wow, so this is not like a kind of coaxing.
the one place that I have heard of, because this comes up in the Calvinist Arminianist debate, naturally. And the one place I have heard offered as an alternative to drag is that there is the Septuagint rendering of part of the Song of Solomon. I think I went and looked this up. The groom, or it's the bride, one or the other, says, draw me into your bedchambers or something like that. And they're like, well, obviously it's not drag. I'm like, yeah, but it's still compelling. It's like, bring me in. I'm like, it's more than wooing, which is what they want to make it often in that discussion. It's like, no, there's like physical compulsion in a different context. But
yes, she's wanting to be pulled in.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
It's not like the caveman dragging her by the hair.
No, but right. But it's also not, hey, would you like to come in here? Like,
yeah. It's a little stronger than an invitation.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or wooing.
And the thing is that's the pivotal thing about what that word means in John 6. It's like, no, it doesn't mean he's just inviting. It's like he is bringing, drawing.
You remember that verse also in John where Jesus says, if I be lifted up, I will draw
Oh,
all men to
is it
myself.
that same word?
It is the same word. And it says all men.
Yeah.
And the way I understand it is that there will be some coming voluntarily, willingly, responding to the drawing aspect of Hilco. But
Right.
there will others be coming unwillingly, perhaps at the great white throne, being dragged.
I think Calvin's, because this comes up in Calvin's institutes a little bit. I think his interpretation is something like all men is to signify of all varieties of men
Yeah.
from all over.
Well,
But
it's kind of like the Calvin's position on John 3:16, I
Yeah.
believe.
it's in the same passage of
Yeah.
the treatise where he discusses both.
I don't
Yeah.
think I believe that, and I don't think Rod teaches that way either.
So you
It's
don't,
not the whole John 3:16, according to that teaching, is the whosoever God so loved the world of the elect. This is the way Rod has taught it.
Or said that
I'm
it
a
is
little
not,
bit
but
I'm not quite
That's-
sure what you were saying. That
Okay.
Rod is taught. So Rod doesn't
I
teach
think it's the
limited
extreme
atonement. or-
Calvinist position.
he does.
Wait a minute. Does Rod teach limited atonement or?
No, he does not.
Okay.
Oh,
No,
Okay.
he does not.
Okay.
And I don't either. But in fact, I've done a study on that limited
Well, but
idea.
so loved the world. I don't even have, I guess, to say to love. What is that? Because it doesn't specify some things in that statement. What we have is when you have a world full of those who will follow and those who will not,
Mhm.
and he's lumped them all together in that statement. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that all who believe, there's the qualifier.
Mhm.
The qualifier is not in the love.
Okay, maybe
The
not.
love is offered.
Yeah.
And I think that maybe that's what you're saying. The love is offered. And in fact, I don't know, I haven't read Calvin, but I'm doubtful that Calvin says that God didn't offer love to the world.
no, that probably not.
I
That's
don't know.
probably an
It's
overstatement. I don't
probably
think he
not-
said that because
Certainly
that
not
would
the case.
contradict what
Yeah.
Jesus says
Yeah.
about God's love for the world. God loved even sinners.
I've heard or read somewhere that it wasn't Calvin himself who took some of the extreme views that some of his followers did later.
I don't really know.
Um, yeah, I
But-
honestly don't remember that passage of the Institutes well enough to tell you. Calvin gives usually when he talks, I can't remember which one it is, but he talks about general love that God gives to the world, and he quotes passages like he sends rain on the wicked and the righteous, and causes the sun to shine on them, and things like that.
But we're guilty of not believing in the only Son of God, the begotten Son of God. We're guilty of not believing that. We couldn't be guilty of not believing that if it wasn't offered to us. We can't be guilty for that which we did not commit. The fact that we're already dead in our trespasses, but the guilt that we have, the guilt is always assigned to us for what we do.
Yeah.
What did we do? Jesus says they're guilty because they stand condemned already because they did not believe in the only
Yeah.
begotten Son of God.
Right.
Well, that follows having offered the Son in love.
Right.
Yeah, you see hints of it or even direct statements of it in other places. One place I'm thinking of is with the rich young ruler.
He
There's,
loved him.
yeah, Mark's account says, looking at him, he loved him.
Right.
And it's the word phileo.
Is
It's
it?
not the word agape. And that's the love that is based on the,
He saw something in him he loved.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Hooray!
wow, that's
Hooray!
great. Yeah, that's interesting. We should probably get back to what we're doing,
Yeah,
Carl, but I
I
think
think
that's
we should, yeah.
fascinating because that's a love which is based on a kinship.
Yes, it is.
And a felt common
Yeah.
ground. Yeah.
Anyway, we pretty much got through almost all of the first page
didn't
of the
finish those.
exercises, right?
Okay.
And I'm glad you're here, but I don't know, you probably have been really busy since we last met.
Yeah, especially with my sister-in-law and niece up here from Columbia.
Oh,
Wait, yeah, see, they came up. When did they come up? Probably that first week, that last week when y'all met and I wasn't
Mhm.
here. They came up, so we've been out busy taking them around. In fact, that's why I was late tonight. Deer don't exist outside North America.
deer don't?
No, no, the white-tailed deer to which we're accustomed,
Yeah.
they're indigenous to North America. They don't exist on any other continent. So they've never
There are-
seen them.
There are deer in
Well,
Europe.
No, but the different
Well,
species.
not
not
different
about
kinds of-
white-tailed deer.
Oh,
Yeah,
sure.
that's
Yeah,
fine.
sorry about
That's
that.
okay. You don't have
The
the,
white-tailed deer, which is the really majestic ones.
Right.
If you go around the world and look at deer in other countries, those white-tailed deer only exist in North America unless somebody imports them someplace.
Okay.
well, that's okay.
And so they've never seen a deer in their life. And yesterday, or last night, as it was getting dusk and I was out walking, for the first time, I caught deer out around our largest lake where they usually are.
Yeah,
They've been elsewhere, I guess, because probably at this point of the year, the grass just wasn't green enough and long enough there to interest them. And,
Right.
and now they've gotten desperate and gone back there, so.
Huh.
We had to go back out there tonight as it was getting dusk and make sure they could see deer before they go back to Columbia.
Well, that was a worthy thing.
that's awesome.
That's
Yeah.
fun. Well, all right.
Okay,
We still, I think, have two more of these to do if you want to do them.
all right, well, we're on page 75 in the workbook, first page of chapter 19. And we're about to do number epsilon down near the bottom of the page.
Oh, okay, excellent. Okay.
We've been talking about the future tense, Ray,
Yeah, which page?
in
75?
the workbook, page 75. The future tense has what he calls a tense formative, and for the active and middle voice future tense, it's sigma. And you add that to the stem or the root of the verb, and then the case ending. So with number epsilon, our verb there is perusantai, and the lexical form of that particular verb is peruomai. We had an example of that in number 5 up above. Different different personal number, but the meaning of it is go or come. No, I'm sorry, that's Erkman. This means go or proceed. So the noun is implied in the verb, and it's third plural. They will go soon emoi, with me. And this particular verb is a deponent. There is no active form of it. That's why it uses these secondary endings. Ontai is a secondary ending for third plural.
Right.
Okay. Number zeta is a made-up sentence that gives us, not a sentence, just a phrase. Let's read it together. Blepsita kai u lalese. Okay. Ray, we saw this once before in the exercises. The psi is kind of a strange thing to see in that, but psi is a combination of p plus sigma, And the lexical form of that verb, what is that verb, by the way? The lexical form? Blepo, and the meaning of it?
That'd be I see.
I see, yeah. And in the future tense, the sigma tense formative combined with the consonant of the stem forming a psi, and the ending, well, then you got your connecting vowel, the epsilon, and then the ending te. You plural will see, and u la lese. That's almost a separate sentence. U means what? It's a negative.
Right, negation. Yep. So
Yeah.
not.
Not.
Right.
And laleo is the lexical form of that verb. What type of verb is that?
I'm sorry. What do you mean? What type
La-
of verb?
I'm looking for the term contract verb.
Oh, yeah.
It's an epsilon contract.
Laleo would be the
Yeah, it's laleo,
right.
but the epsilon lengthens to eta before the tense formative.
Right.
That's the rule. So lalese.
And that is third person singular.
That's right.
Future active indicative.
Yeah. And what person and number?
Third person singular.
Okay. So he, she, or it will not speak. Well,
Right.
you can eliminate neuter. So he or she will not speak.
You will see.
You will see, and he or she will not speak.
And that was
That's
the second
odd.
person plural, right? So, okay.
Yeah.
You plural will
You
see.
plural will see,
And he will
but
not
he
He will not speak.
singular will not speak.
And did you translate Kai as and or but?
And.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
It's a made up sentence, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me.
doesn't make much sense to me either.
Last one. Accuse, tith, tain, phonane, autu. Okay, this comes from Matthew 12:19.
Yes.
Yeah, and what is that tis there without an accent?
I always forget that. Oh,
With an accent, it's an interrogative pronoun.
right.
Without an accent, it's an indefinite pronoun. Someone, anyone, a certain one.
Right. Anyone, that's what I thought maybe.
Yeah. So,
Anyone will hear?
you could say anyone. I chose someone
Someone will hear.
will hear. Tain phonane autu.
The voice of him.
Right.
His
Or
voice.
his
Someone will hear his voice.
Right. How do you feel about these? You feel comfortable with them?
Yeah,
Okay.
basically.
You feel comfortable enough to branch out a little farther into the next section?
I've actually done 5 of them.
Okay.
I'm sorry I didn't get any further.
I haven't done any of them.
Well,
yet,
let's
but
take
we
it
can do
slowly.
together.
And Ray is kind of
Oh, I actually did 6 of them.
catching up with
Wow.
things too. All right. Kurion, ton, theon, su, proskuneses. Okay, footnote 1. Notice that although this is a future verb, it is being used as an imperative to state a command. This is a common use of the future in both Greek and English.
Sure.
See the exegetical insight in this chapter. And I think you remember we talked about the future is used to express a command. Can you give an example of something like that? in the Ten Commandments, maybe?
Well, except that's usually rendered as shall, but
Yeah,
Yeah, which is,
which is not the simple future.
yeah,
But
well, um,
so if I were to say to my child, you will sit there,
yeah,
yeah,
that I'm commanding them.
yeah, you're commanding. Or in the case of the Ten Commandments, they're negatives. Thou shalt not.
Right. It could be you will not,
You
but
will. Yeah, there's essentially no difference between
It-
will and shall.
I'm not sure why he has the footnote because in the Greek, there's no difference. It's the same verb form, right? You know what we learned? That
Yeah.
the future tense is also the command tense.
No,
No?
the future
Or
tense
it
can be
can be
used as a
that way.
command,
That's what I'm saying, is it?
but it's used
also-
many other.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't have a separate form for that.
No, it does not.
And so I'm not sure why he made the footnote because I mean, it's nice that he's reminding us of that, but
Well,
like I said, the one thing I can think of is it's extremely subtle, but it's something that one of my English teachers at college talked about. Was that MacArthur agonized for hours and
I
hours
know you
over
told-
whether to say
Yeah.
I shall return or I will
Yeah.
return.
I think that was,
Because will is the emphatic form, but it's a statement of intent, whereas shall is a
It's not
statement of
used-
fact.
it's
not
not
used that
universally
way.
understood that way, Ray.
it's
I
not.
know that,
which is
but
why-
that's why he ultimately though decided to settle on the grammatically correct version as
Yeah.
opposed to the commonly understood version. And my only point in bringing that up
I
is
don't know what that
I'm
means.
just wondering if there's that subtle a distinction here and something we're not getting.
Will is,
When I
wait-
went
wait
to
a minute,
school,
you
we
said
were
something
taught that shall is used for first person, will is used for second and third person, but they mean the same thing.
Mhm.
Okay, what were you saying, Dave?
Yeah, I think that people use it interchangeably often and
Yeah, they
you
do
said
now.
something I don't think I used. You were taught that will is the emphatic.
No,
Well,
no, we weren't taught
No,
that.
that's what I'm just
Well,
quoting,
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, that's
but that's not
for me.
actually true. Will might be emphatic, but will is the simple future. It's future.
Well, so is shall.
The
is simple
car-
future. Yeah, there is no such thing as an unsimple future.
But shall shall is almost dropped out of usage.
Yeah,
And in its past usage, it was used more in the emphatic sense than will was. This is what I'm getting to.
yeah, okay.
I think what you said is kind of backwards of what was actually the standard usage.
Yeah.
And in fact, if you look at government documents, which you probably have to deal with,
Mhm.
the formal, there's a difference in, I used to develop software and
Mhm.
what they would call the B spec for software was the requirements document. And they were always worded, so-and-so shall do
Yeah.
whatever.
Mhm.
Mhm.
The C spec, which was this is what we're going to actually, how we're going to do it before we do it, was a statement, we will do this. It was a simple indicative of the future. We will do it this way. As opposed to the requirement document, which says, this is what we're required to do.
Right.
Shall
Shall
was the,
And then, of course, I read and I sometimes even write.
Yeah.
Legislation.
Yeah.
And
Imperative,
so, of
imperative.
course,
You said
any
indicative,
of the
imperative.
imperatives always written in shall.
That's right. That's what you actually said. I had it wrong. Yeah.
But I guess, here's again, and of course, the other factor that comes into this is the fact that languages evolve over time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
MacArthur was literally educated more than a century ago, because he went through college in the teens. Actually, no, probably that. He went
So-
through college, he went through West Point in the first decade of the
Well,
20th century.
I suspect that,
So, you
so
know,
he
the-
meant
the
to say,
usage that he was trained
I must
in-
return. It's a requirement.
Yeah, this is the usage he was trained in between 1900 and 1910. Would have evolved by the time the 1940s got there, and
Yeah.
it certainly would have evolved even more by the time you and I went through school. But the real point that I was making is that is a very narrow distinction that most people don't get, but there was a distinction that was understood between will and shall.
Mhm.
And even though we've lost it today, it used to exist. So what I was pointing out is maybe mouse is referring to here to some distinction that.
No,
No, he made a
It's
statement
not.
in this chapter
it's
saying that
not.
will and shall are interchangeable
In the
now.
Greek, it could be either one.
Yeah.
And you have to figure it out. And he's reminding us of that, and he's telling us this really was a commandment.
That's a different issue, though. The use of the future to express a command in the idea of imperatival future. That's you get that from the context.
Right.
You get the meaning of the imperatival use of the future from the context. Grammatically, it's the same as a prediction,
Right.
Okay,
but the imperatival use is,
in these exercises, we're missing the context.
Well, this one's pretty clear.
here on the bottom of page 197 in the textbook. 197 footnote 1. The basic rule in older English is that shall is used for first person and will for the second and third. I shall work hard, you will work hard. He will slack off. That distinction has generally fallen into disuse today, and will is used everywhere in the indicative. That's the way things are now. It has evolved to that.
Okay. So,
Okay.
right.
Back to this first sentence. I don't think we translated it yet, but
Sure.
kurion ton theon is in the accusative, masculine singular.
So,
And that's the direct object of the sentence. Where is the subject?
it's
in the
implied
verb.
In the verb.
You,
And it's the second singular.
right.
The ascending tells you that. You, singular, shall worship, proskuneses, the Lord your
Right.
God.
Kurion
That's right.
ton
The
theon,
Lord
Yeah.
your God.
which is accusative.
Now, there is no article in front of kurion. Instead, it's in front of ton theon. And I
Okay.
found something helpful in my book. It's still Greek to me, written by David Black. When a definite noun lacks the article, stress is being placed on the qualitative aspect of the noun rather than on its identity or particularity. So that noun kurion is being emphasized in two ways: lack of the article and the fact that it's first in the sentence. So stress is being placed on the qualitative aspect of that word. Lord is a word that means something like, I'm in charge,
Master.
I'm the boss.
It's the same as master.
Yeah, master. The one with authority and power.
I find that interesting because, so in here we have really of you. Sue is your, we
Mhm.
translate your God.
Yeah.
And I think that's right. I think that your God is, we have here ton, theon, Sue.
Yes.
And that whole thing seems to modify kurion. And
It's
that-
actually apposition. It's not modifying it so much as further.
Well,
describing.
okay, because then the question I have is, would just as well translated,
Well,
Lord, the God of you,
yeah.
Lord, the God of you.
Okay.
And I thought about that. Really, I did. I thought,
Okay.
looking at this, is that really another way to translate it? Because that would put them right appositionally, wouldn't it?
Yes, it does.
But I'm not sure if it's really appositional or if it's really a modifier. And it has the same meaning fundamentally,
Yeah.
but
The
Well,
Lord your God.
If
the
you
Lord your God.
if you pay
And-
attention to
but all the
this,
translations
He's
say the Lord your God.
right? But if you pay attention to what
Is your God.
David Black is saying in this statement about the fact that there is no, remember that
There's no article, yeah.
no article. remember in chapter 6, the exegetical insight about John 1:1c, where it says, and the word was God.
Right,
Um,
right.
The article was missing, and
Right.
it was in the in
That's
the
right.
first place, in the position of the first word in the clause or the sentence, and that lays stress on it. It also identifies the subject from the predicate nominative when you've got an equative verb. But here, he's telling us that stress is being placed on the lordship of God, as well as, well, that's the main. There's no equative verb in this sentence, but
I'm almost wondering, is this more like saying, yeah, God, your master? I mean,
like the master, who is your God.
well, but it's a quality.
mhm,
It's not, see, because it's missing the article. And if it's a quality, I mean, your God and master,
mhm.
your God, your master God. I mean, we don't have a quite way to say that in English.
I was gonna say, would the idea be like your Lord the God?
Well, that's right. I mean, it is sort of saying the Lord, the God of you.
Yeah.
But that's
Or
really
more like
coarse.
God, your Lord.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I said.
Yeah.
God, your
Like
Lord.
God, your
Yeah.
Lord.
And I used master because
Wouldn't that be similar to what Philip said when he put the Lord said, reach your hand,
my
your
God,
finger
my
here,
Lord and my God. Yeah,
put your finger in the
Mhm.
wounds. And then
it is.
Thomas, not Philip,
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thomas.
Oh.
Yeah.
My Lord and
my
God.
Lord and my God.
I think it's very similar. It's just how many ways you
Similar,
can
it's
say
not
it.
grammatically identical.
But it's talking to us. Anyway, thank you, Carl. That's really interesting.
Well,
Because I struggled with looking at that and wondering, that's an odd structure.
it is.
You gotta kind of take your 21st century mind and put it into a feudal mindset and think of yourself as being a peasant who has a lord over you, who owns you, in order to get the mentality right about it thinking.
And
Yeah, you
that's
don't
not so
worship
far-fetched,
other-
Ray.
I know.
Remember scriptures like, for you are not your own, you're bought with a price.
So
It's taken me decades to get to the point I can kind of do that.
Yeah.
Nice.
It carries some content. It's not all it says, but it seems to carry some content that's saying you don't worship other masters, you don't worship other lords, but God you worship. I mean, it has some of that context to it, right?
Yeah, because of the word
Because of the-
proskuneo.
Yeah, I mean, like another place where I
Well,
think this comes
You
from,
worship.
You worship, but without the article, it's the lordship of God here that's being emphasized.
Yeah.
And he's unique among all your lords.
There is no one with lordship like God has lordship.
That's
Right.
right.
The
He is
lordship
the
of-
that's why I said the master, but I realized the
Right.
lack of article. But how do I say he's the Lord of Lords, right?
But in the final analysis, it seems that the translations have the best. The Lord your God.
Right.
It's
Emphasizes the
unique.
lordship quality
And it is emphasizing the lordship of God.
Yeah. as best as you can in
I guess
English.
maybe where I come to this is I think back to Joshua 24:14. Not 15, but 24:14. Which launches off, choose you this day whom you shall serve.
Right.
Okay, it's
Right.
like, you don't have the choice of not serving somebody, you're somebody's slave.
Sure.
You can be the slave of this one or the slave of that one, and you can make a choice.
Right.
But you can't be free, you gotta be the slave of somebody.
Okay, now another
And
factor,
It's kind of like when I think maybe your Lord, the God. Coming from that sort of mentality, choose you this day whom you will serve.
this is taken from Matthew 4:10, which is Jesus talking to the devil in the wilderness,
Right.
temptation. And the devil had just suggested to the Lord,
That he would first,
yeah, he worship him. If the devil gave him all the kingdoms of the world, he would do that if you worshiped him. And the Lord's answer, thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and him only shall you serve. So even taking it out of the realm of another human, you've got Jesus saying that.
Mhm.
And what you were saying, Zach, if you are talking about a master who's merely human,
Yeah.
you owe that master obedience, but you don't owe him worship.
Right.
But here with the Lord, our God, we do owe worship as well as obedience.
I would I ponder whether there's a convergence of those concepts, because part of God's holiness is his transcendent mastery of all there is.
You know?
And that's partly why worship is due.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it is the fact that he is the Lord of all.
Can you say that worship is a response of a person who fears and adores and admires and desires to serve or offer?
Yeah.
Are these things part of what's included in worshiping?
true worshiper.
Yeah, I think so. I think reverential fear,
Yeah.
for sure, and love, because the love that he shows us, right?
Yeah.
But those things should be gathered together in worship. Yeah,
And-
I
and
think
I
so.
would say, and treating as the most valuable thing that you can find.
I
Yeah,
like
I
that
think
too.
your
Right.
attributes of admiration, all those attributes
Those are all
Yeah.
good.
add up. If we worship
Yeah.
only out of fear, we wouldn't be true worshipers,
Yeah.
I'd say,
Yeah.
according to what Christ said, that he's looking for true worshipers who will worship in truth and spirit, right? In
But
spirit and
that's
truth.
perhaps only because our concept of fear is sometimes tainted or corrupted into a
I think there are
Mm,
different
no,
there are different qualities
mean
of
that.
fear
Yeah.
that are described in
Because
the New
fear
Covenant,
only
but-
will lead me to cooperate, but it doesn't lead to devotion. There's a difference
Yeah.
between
Yeah.
well,
lip services, as is written in one of the letters one of the epistles is written of don't be don't be
Hearers of the word.
see no
being
it,
doers
no
of the
no
word.
don't
it's a
just
lip service. I
don't just do lip service
Yeah.
or eye service act,
think.
but do things as if serving the Lord, as if serving
Mhm.
Jesus.
Uh-huh.
When he's talking about serving your masters, in which letter is that? Don't just serve them when they're watching, but serve them well, as if it's the Lord yourself.
Whatsoever
And-
you do it heartily as to the Lord and not
Yes.
unto men.
Colossians 3:23.
And that's a descriptive of having a heart that desires to please.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between serving out of fear. See, a tyrant might command a fearful respect,
Oh yeah, and they do.
Good.
right?
Yes, they do.
But a rightful leader and a rightful father doesn't only command fear, but commands love.
Right.
And God is our loving father. He's not a tyrant. Unless we don't want to follow him, then he's our tyrant.
Mhm.
But even as his sons, I think there is a type of fear, which is not the type that's driven out by the love, but the reverential fear for
Well,
who he
yes.
is remains, right?
Yeah.
It goes
Yeah.
together with
That's
And
right.
it should.
right.
Yes. That's why I liked your list.
Yeah, that list was a good list. I was like, the list you gave.
Oh,
I can't remember all of
Fear,
them.
admiration,
Yeah.
desire
To
to
serve.
serve and
I think-
follow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and I
There's
think
another-
maybe what falls into that too is the second kind of fear, which is fear of disappointing the one who we love.
Yeah, there you go.
And desire to please.
Yeah, I heard
They go
somebody
hand in hand.
illustrate this with a newly married wife. She was cooking a nice meal and she said to her friend, I'm afraid this isn't going to come out right.
Right.
What are you afraid of? Why are you afraid? Because she wanted to please her husband.
Right. Well, do we not want to please our wives?
Yeah.
Hopefully we do. Especially
Yeah.
since this is being recorded.
Oh, yeah.
Kidding. But no, really, truly,
The essential
doesn't it
fear of
give
the
us-
holiday season.
doesn't it give us joy when we please the ones we love?
Yes,
And it disappoints us when we don't.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's another verse, I think it's in Psalm 90, I might be wrong in that, but it talks about oh my goodness. I'm sorry, I just lost the train of thought there, but it talks about the fear of the Lord. And
Is clean or
well,
no,
that's
different one.
that's in Psalm 19,
Okay.
but Psalm I'll think of it later and
Okay.
tell you. Let's go on to number 2. We've got a little more time.
It's a good discussion. I mean, that's a rich discussion. How
Yeah.
should we
Wow.
respond to God?
This is as much a Sunday
Like,
school as it
that's-
is.
yeah,
As
right.
much a
Well,
Bible study as it is.
Okay,
Of course.
there was something I wanted to share.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry.
And what does it mean to have a curious? I mean, that's
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We don't really appreciate that for the most
No.
part. Although I think living in a workforce, we come close to that at times when we know that something is the wrong way to do a thing, or it's not what we really strongly disagree with it, and we do it anyway. I mean, have you never come across that? Have you never had to do that? And you do the thing you know is wrong. Not morally wrong, hopefully, but I'm saying it's not the thing we know would be better.
Right.
It's not ours.
would you like to take another one, number 2 here and finish it? What I'm thinking of suggesting that we do as an assignment is the next 10 for next week.
Okay.
Okay.
We can do one more
You think through 10 or through 11 or 12?
through 10 and then
Okay.
save the last 10 for the following week.
Oh, well,
Is that all right with you?
sure.
Okay.
Being very
I'm not trying to, I don't want to go too fast.
or too slow. Okay, so 2. Should we read 2?
Okay, yeah. Basilus Israel Esten Katabato Nun Apo Tu Staru Pi Disputamen Ep Auton. It's got a footnote here. The people are probably taunting Jesus and being sarcastic. Interestingly, some manuscripts insert a, which means if, before basilus.
Yeah, right.
Wonder which one.
I've done this one. If
Yeah, go ahead and share.
so,
your-
I have here. He is King of Israel. Let him come down now from the cross, and we will believe in him.
Mhm,
And I left off the thee because
mhm.
I think it's a title.
Yes,
And no, we handle that differently in the English. We would say the King of Israel, but
Yeah.
I think really they didn't put a.
well, couldn't you apply the same reasoning as the previous sentence about the lack of the article and the word being first? Being
Israel's king.
stressed,
These are
a king is the highest
Yes,
authority in the land.
king is, well, there's no article in here at all.
No,
Uh,
and for that reason, it's laying stress on it. And
Yeah, he
Mhm.
is Israel's king, you almost might say, but in English, he is He is the king of Israel.
Mhm.
Let him come down now from the cross.
Yeah.
And we will believe him.
Now, if the word if is there, he's suggesting that it's a taunt.
It might be anyway, right? I mean,
It
it is either
probably
way.
is,
Yeah.
but they were expressing doubt as to whether he is the king.
Right.
I say definitely they were. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
Right.
I would say they're
Pretty clear in
it's
the text that they didn't really think he was the king.
sure you're the king. Come on down. Yeah. No, they didn't believe it.
It's almost like
Certainly
our
taunting is.
contrary to fact conditional sentence.
Yeah.
If you were the king of Israel,
Yep.
which you're not, is what they're saying.
Right.
I think we would taunt someone in almost identically the same way right now. We could put an if in front of it or not. And it
Yeah,
would be the same
be the
thing.
same. Yeah.
Well, it's
Yeah.
like now in Matthew 4, I believe there is an if there. You
Yes,
are the son of
but-
God. But it's the same kind of idea.
it's an
right?
if that means since.
Oh,
It's not a doubtful thing.
Oh, okay.
It's a first class condition, and it's on, not a.
Oh, but
Oh,
it strengthens the point.
since you're the son
Wait a
of
minute.
God.
No, I'm sorry, it's not a on, but it's the construction. It is a first class condition.
Okay,
If,
so
and it is true that you are.
Russell Moore is wrong about it. Then
I
in his
don't know
book, he
either.
writes it as if it is a challenge to his
No, it's no challenge.
place, which would be a strange thing to come from Satan's mouth.
Satan, being a created being,
Yes,
knows that
he
God,
knows who God is.
that Jesus is God.
Right.
Oh, all right. I'm not sure. In the Matthew was the previous Matthew. Yeah.
Sorry. No, I
Yeah.
meant Matthew 4 for the tempting one.
Oh, okay.
I was
Yeah.
muddying the waters.
I'm sorry. I thought you were about
So
different gospel accounts
we
of the
can
same.
No, we can move along. I believe I'm muddying the waters.
I'm sorry.
You have an
Right.
interlinear there, Carl.
Yeah, let me just check, but this is,
Fascinating.
if,
I think there's no
the
doubt.
first temptation,
We're at Matthew 4.
Matthew 4:3. Now, when the tempter came to him, he said, if you are the Son of God, command that these stones become bread. And the if in that sentence is a, which is, if it were on, that on particle adds a contingency factor to it,
Okay.
but there's no contingency factor here.
Okay.
If, and it is a true statement, you are
Okay.
the Son of God. You could translate this one, since you are the Son of God,
Okay.
command these stones to
Interesting.
become bread.
Yeah, see, I've read exegesis who did not take it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That
Well,
You're saying that
good
this A
Yes.
is not used as a question in this way.
no, it's not a question.
Okay.
It's a conditional sentence.
It's just very interesting because in other places in the translations, they have translated that as since. The same word, I believe, right?
Yeah, you have to be careful though with first class conditional sentences,
Okay.
because the protasis is the if part, the apodosis is
But-
the then part. When the apodosis is true, then the second part, the then clause,
Well,
may
okay.
or may not be
But
true.
I don't know that it changes anything, whether it were there or not, because in this sense, it's Satan's job to lie. He is the liar and the father of it. And
Mhm.
he wouldn't really say to Jesus, I mean, if he said it, it's still a taunt. It's still
Yeah.
it's still a challenge
It's a challenge
to the
for sure.
humanity of
Because
Jesus.
he's still saying, prove it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. You're the Son of God. Go ahead.
Right.
Oh, I see you've got a human body. You didn't have that the last time I saw you.
I'm thinking you haven't eaten in a long time.
Right.
Go ahead, Son of God. Why don't you have some food?
I think we see
Yeah.
the same thing
Yeah.
in the devil's interaction with God in the case of Job.
Yeah.
If if you take away his stuff, he'll curse you to your face.
Now, we would think it's less definite because we don't know for sure that Job's like this, but God knows Job's character.
Yeah.
And he's calling God a liar.
Mhm.
Right?
But God
Yeah.
condescended to let him try,
Yeah, he did.
and try twice. The first time he took away his stuff and his family,
Then he made him sick.
took away his health.
Yeah.
I'll say this though, we may be giving Satan credit for knowing more than he truly knows, given some of the stuff that's about him in the Bible.
Well, he
I'm
said it.
not going to say he knows more than we do, but
Well,
the fact that he would say some of the things that the Bible records him as saying does lead you to wonder if he is mistaken in believing some of the stuff he believes.
Well, he did make a statement that on the surface sounds plausible and reasonable, but it's false. He said, all the man hath, he'll give for his life. Skin for skin, all the man hath, he'll give for his life. That's not true. There are many a believer who has been martyred rather than deny the Lord.
it is commonly true.
Well,
though.
commonly.
It is commonly true.
That's like the Proverbs. They're
It
commonly
is a
true, but
common
there are
truth.
exceptions.
Yeah, it's a common truth. But
Well, I think we've about run out of time. I wonder if we could close, and then I've got a little something I'd like to share with you
want a
guys.
prayer or just
Yeah,
say goodbye?
Would somebody pray, please?
I'm happy to pray.
Go ahead, Dan.
Oh, let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we're so thankful for the time we've had tonight. You have been generous to us to allow us all to be here, to give us health. You have given us the ability to study this language that your apostles wrote your scriptures in. We are so grateful on so many levels for what we have that has come from you. And tonight, we're mindful as we study through this that you would continue to make us humble. Holy Spirit, keep us in our humility, that we might not become arrogant and become like even the devil himself. We must not fall. We must be upheld by you because you have promised to make it so. And so we have confidence that you will even do this for us and that you will teach us even more things that we can hold loosely in our hand, knowing that you are the Father of all truth. I ask that you would bless us in our studies as we go forward, and that you would help us this week to do our studying in this part of the Greek, and that you would help us in our lives, Lord, as we reach out to the people around us. We need to live well, Father, and so I ask that you would help us, that we would have a strong gate on our mouths and on our gazes and on our minds, that we would keep everything subject to you, that you would be able to control us, and that we would always be submitted to you in every thought, word, and deed. And in that, we would be in a good example. And perhaps, Lord, if you would be gracious to us, that we might be able to give testimony of your greatness, your goodness, your love, and your kindness, and to those that are around us, that we can know even greater the love that you give for us. All this I ask, Father, because of the Savior you have given us, Christ, who lives in us and dwells with us. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Yeah, say good night here.
Good night.
It's nice to be all together again.
It sure is. I wish Drew could be with us, but we have